My name is Robert, and you're watching The Firing Line on VEGASET. Welcome to our tech segment. In this world, we have many things going for us, many ways to the future. Currently, we have many items being processed. Some that are simple and cheap to help lower costs across the board. Some things that are technological to help bring people further into the future. And some things mainly just useful. That is good for every day to help people out. And one of these items, which I would say is pretty much VEGASET approved, is some types of portable coolers. Some that have a handle, sort of like a lunchbox, but it's also kind of like a mini fridge, where you can plug it into a USB port, your car, or into a wall plug-in. And they even act more so also as a warmer as well, depending on what type you get. And needless to say, I'm actually thinking about getting one for my wife. If she ever sees this video, she'd probably yeah, right, I said that because has a job where she travels, and she could probably use one so she could pack a lunch and keep it cold. And then if she's got to warm something up, well, yeah. Anyway, with all these items that get processed these days, a lot of businesses are going every which way. You have small-time people who are just trying to get by, especially in our current state of affairs. And you have big businesses, which are having an easy time because they're just selling stuff left and right. Walmart, Amazon, you name it. It is something else. But you know, small businesses do need to be supported. So go to them and don't worry about the big guys, because they got the money, they should be okay. But support small businesses first and foremost. Now, speaking about the little guy, everyone's heard in Texas what's been going on. The big freeze, the cold snap. You see the windmills go down. Apparently for the windmills, gas was used on the windmills to keep them either propelling or to keep them warm. But when the cold snap happened, a bunch of people turned up their heaters, and the gas flowed that way. So it was kind of cut off from the windmills. So they ended up freezing. And on the solar panels, you would think someone would put a windshield wiper on it so they could keep the snow off. But no. And you see what happened. But yeah. And then you also have other things like nuclear and coal, which are heat source based energy that spin a turbine by heating up water. Those of course went down a little bit because it kind of got cold. Now, looking at these aspects, you can see that a lot of things that are usually reliable can be taken out in an instant by different types of weather. You saw in Fukushima, a nuclear plant got taken out by a tsunami. And you see in Texas, green energy, if you'd call it that, with how much energy it took just to produce all that. It was just quickly taken down by a cold snap that just passed by. And honestly, the same thing happened 100 years ago in Texas. Actually, literally in the 1890s. They got snow in South Texas and it was below freezing. And now it happens again. So, the whole climate change narrative, climate changes naturally. Humans aren't able to truly manipulate the weather and the climate. Well, the weather, some people have their thoughts, but the climate itself is not something that humans really can manipulate by putting more CO2 in the atmosphere. Now, what we can do with more CO2, because it's heavier than oxygen, is, well, especially in the cities, if you see a bunch of people that are there that can't exactly breathe very well because of, needless to say, since carbon dioxide is heavier, it can deprive people on a lower playing field of oxygen, so they have to go higher up to breathe. And that's just one of the things that needs to be addressed. Because of oxygen displacement by carbon dioxide, people have issues. And now we have Elon Musk wanting to do carbon capture for Mars. He wants to be able to turn carbon dioxide into oxygen. And we agree wholeheartedly with that. Because if you can get the carbon, make graphene with it, you can get the oxygen for breathing, and probably for fuel too, but mainly breathing. Then you will be all set for Mars. And if you can take care of some of that extra carbon in the atmosphere, that will take care of us on Earth. So people can actually breathe again and get some oxygen to their brains, because people having issues these days. So, what do we have now? We have a bunch of things coming up. We need to be able to learn things. And there are a bunch of different objectives that people can go to. You can go learn different things from YouTube or Facebook, from watching videos, and reading different tutorials and what may have you. For plumbing, for electricity, for building your own house. Of course, I'd probably call a fire marshal to make sure that you don't burn your house down with bad electricity, bad electrical wiring. But depending on where you are, if you don't need a permit, then that's probably best to do. In any case, and yes, I said in any case again, we have these items, but there's something going on in social media these days. Free speech is being stifled, and with all the bullcrap that's going on from Facebook and YouTube canceling people, taking them off their platform because they have a different narrative than what YouTube and Facebook want to propose, because they want to, some people would say, go all fascist on you, be pro-government and what the government wants you to know. And then if there's any factual evidence of an alternative, they want to shut it down as fast as possible. Look what they did to Parler. You saw the Capitol riots. They were organized on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. And then they targeted Parler, which it was not organized on, for deplatforming. They had servers go down and wipe Parler off. Just an excuse for Amazon to shut it down. And then, of course, you know the story. A month later, Parler was like, "Come at me, bro. I'm back." And now, what are they gonna do? Parler's on a server farm that is pro free speech, from what we know so far. So they can't just shut them down now. And they can't tell the utilities to shut them down because that would be literally a crime based on some certain laws dealing with utilities, antitrust, etc., etc. And antitrust maybe going back on Google, YouTube, Facebook, etc., etc. So we're about to see a bunch of stuff go on in the future. And they're not going to want you to know a bunch of it. But you'll still be able to find out if you just research a little bit. Now, back to the learning aspect. Probably a new social media platform is needed. One that doesn't stifle innovation. One that doesn't cancel people. One that protects legal speech and truth. Where if you don't like something, you can just block it away. And if you do like something, you can just subscribe to it and bring it to you. Something that can compete with YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, what may have you. And even Parler and other things. Because it will also be a free speech platform as well. Now, maybe even Amazon and Roku might get some business taken away too, depending. But we're looking into something like that, where even those who educate can get paid, and the students don't have to pay a dime because advertisements. And then the model can work for school choice altogether. So you don't have to go to a school. You don't have to go to a college and pay millions of dollars just to go to some gender studies class that has nothing to do with what you want. So you can be an astrophysicist, be an engineer, be what you want, do what you want, without having to pay for Democrat campaigns through universities that give you stuff that has nothing to do with what you need to take care of for your own family, for your own job. Maybe it's time to begin again and start something new. What say you?